Welcome to the Dark Ozarks. We are discussing dark tales from the Eastern Ozarks. This is part two. Just because the eastern side of the Ozarks is more sparsely populated doesn't mean it doesn't have its fair share of noir tales. What are your favorite stories from this part of the Ozarks?
We're covering infamous people and dark hauntings of the Eastern Ozarks, and there are more stories you probably have never heard that we can fill up with an episode. So we have chosen some of our favorites.
We'll get back to the Eastern Ozarks, but first we want to invite you to like, follow, and subscribe to Dark Ozarks on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, as well as your favorite podcast platform. We also invite you to become a Dark Ozarks subscriber on Facebook. On the Dark Ozarks Facebook page, click subscribe, have your login information ready, and join Dark Ozarks behind the scenes for only $4.99 per month.
Your $4.99 per month subscription allows you to come with us on paranormal investigations, deep dive research, and topics too controversial for public view. The next 100 subscribers will be entered in a drawing for a free Dark Ozarks t-shirt and an exclusive signed first round copy of the book Dark Ozarks, The Spook Light. Subscribe today to be entered in the drawing. And now you can also get Dark Ozarks t-shirts for sale at darkozarks.com and paranormalsciencelab.com.
Thank you to State of the Ozarks online magazine, dedicated to preserving and celebrating Ozarks culture since 2007. Free access to hundreds of articles, find more information about State of the Ozarks events, and be sure to sign up for the State of the Ozarks Weekly, delivered free to your inbox every Sunday night, featuring new writings and a down-home Ozark recipe in every issue.
Mark your calendars for upcoming live events. Coming up on December 13th is Dark Ozarks Live at the Fox in Springfield, Missouri. Meet Dark Ozarks producers Lisa and Josh for evenings of history, legends, and the paranormal, and even visit some of the most haunted locations in the Ozarks. Details on the Dark Ozarks Facebook page, and visit paranormalsciencelab.com for tickets and more information.
We encourage you to check out Always Buying Books in Joplin, Missouri, in person and online on Facebook and at the website alwaysbuyingbooks.com for all of your reading needs, including a large section on the paranormal, history, and more. Not to mention, the building is haunted. Tell Bob and Elise that we sent you.
We also want to thank Beard Engine Brewing Company in Alba, Missouri. Beard Engine Brewing is the only English-style brewery in Missouri and has been twice named Missouri's best brewery by the Missouri Brewers Association. Great beer and great food in a historical building with a noir past. And yes, their building is also haunted. Tell Nate and Tiff that we sent you.
So, peek into the Eastern Ozarks, specifically the Salem and Dent County area in Missouri.
And we've got, as you mentioned, with much of the Eastern Ozarks, it is, comparatively speaking, much more sparsely populated than other portions, than certain portions of Southwest Missouri, largely because of metro centers like Springfield, the Joplin area, Branson, and then of course the Northwest Arkansas metro is much more heavily populated. And something that we've seen over and over is when we have the opportunity to be able to do investigations in less populated areas, it is still extremely rich in terms of lore.
It really is. And not only lore, just the history, the dark history as well.
Very, very much so. And the Dent County area and region, and not just the region, of course, we're just in Lebanon. We were over in West Plains a couple of weeks ago as well. Mm-hmm. And this region, of course, first, it is, comparatively speaking, very rugged terrain.
Yeah.
Where we're dealing, once you get down into the central Missouri Ozarks, and not central Missouri, but the central Missouri Ozarks, which we're talking Dent County, Shannon County, et cetera. And then Oregon, and then start moving your way east uh, over toward Piedmont and Farmington. There is some extremely rugged country. It's extraordinarily beautiful. And what people oftentimes don't realize when they see the level of forest, that there are thousands and thousands of human stories and many generations of stories within that, from ranging from, of course, the Civil War to the industrialization of the Ozarks, which in those regions primarily took the form of logging.
Yeah.
Over into the stories of early settlement, as well as conflict with predominantly the Osage, and then of course very long-standing experiences and sacred spaces that were regarded by the Osage, as well as the mound builder Neolithic peoples.
Yes, agreed. And well, and just to give a personal reference to that, some years ago in my law practice, we would deal with cases that were over in Shannon, Dent, and Oregon counties, and there were two attorneys practicing in the three counties. And so that's when it really hit me how sparsely populated the area was, because you had two people that basically took all the cases for three counties. So,
Yes,
which is unheard of, really, in the areas.
Very much so. And of course, this is our short format. But on page 34, of course, and for tonight, of course, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. And this is Friday will be the kickoff of the official Christmas season. And on page 34 of our notes, Cedar Grove in Denton County, there was a reference from 1874. The first quote, the first new body to be interred in Cedar Grove was said to be that of a little boy who was frozen to death on Christmas Eve of that 1874. He and a playmate living at the roundhouse of the railroad started out to hunt for Santa Claus. When they were missed, the mother set out an alarm. It began to get cold and snow to fall. Frantic parents and neighbors searched the dense woods around the section house, and soon the population of Salem was helping. All night long, by lanterns and torches, the search went on. Every foot of land was covered for a mile. Spring Creek was carefully dragged. Hundreds were in on the search. The next morning, a gun was fired as a signal. The boys had been found within 200 yards of home, and there they were, frozen to death. They had pulled off their shoes and hung their stockings on a bush for Santa Claus to fill, their little coats folded for pillows and clasped in each other's arms.
I mean, that's heartbreaking.
It is.
It really is. But just, one of those stories that paints a picture of the humanity and the ruggedness of the area all at once.
It did. Even as late as 1874, the in so many ways the Ozarks were still very much a frontier, very much a dangerous space, and very much a situation of men against nature in sometimes really tragic ways.
Very much so. What since this is our short format, what is your favorite story that comes out of these stories?
It's a good question. I mean, there's the overall point of interest, and I'll get my notes here, and I'm referencing the SalemNewsOnline.com article, Salem's most notorious fonts. But in that regard, I think that the reference to quote unquote downtown Salem's cursed corner And in this case, and I'm quoting, W.P. Elmer reports through several volumes of his history of Denton County that a number of murders and deaths by freak accidents occurred all within a few square blocks of downtown Salem. And what I think is interesting about that is the sociocultural commentary that whether, regardless of reason, first of all, it speaks to the a community's memory, and that's something that we have a lot less of, as even though we are inundated with information, we certainly through the 20th century, mid 20th century and later, we began to see that breakdown of, wait, what happened here, what happened there, oh, I don't know, I don't remember. And to some degree that seems to be speeding up. And
I think it is.
In this case, we have a situation of multiple events that, rather than being forgotten, were actually latched onto, to the point that some people apparently began saying, okay, there's something weird about this space. Now, there may not be. That's
Right.
Certainly I'm not jumping to that immediate conclusion, but I'm putting myself in that place. And as the mind starts to, for example, say, well, this tragedy happened, this tragedy happened, this tragedy happened, the mind automatically begins to interpolate and fill in the blanks and say, oh, man, there's something weird about this space. What's up? And
Yeah.
it to me, that's really interesting. It's a very interesting commentary. I think it's interesting in terms of the commentary on sort of cross-generational transfer of information, that it would be remembered. And then lastly, from a super creepy standpoint, we've done investigations of locations that lots and lots of things seem to happen. Lots of things,
Mhm.
different things, disparate manifestations of the paranormal. Oftentimes, they do seem to coincide with strange issues. Would be the
Mhm.
nicest way to put it. Mysterious deaths, tragic deaths. The thing where you kind of cock your head on one side and go, that's weird. Not only is it tragic, but it's also weird. And
Mhm.
it does begin to certainly begin that conjectural process of saying, is this pure coincidence? Or, for example, is the space, is this physical, very, and not specifically with Salem, but I'll say street corner, is this specific street corner sharing space with something else?
Exactly. Or what is it about it that sort of draws these events to it? Or is it just complete happenstance? But when you
Mm.
have so many, you begin to wonder. Um, and I mean, on the other hand, Salem's not very big. So if you're going to have a bunch of murders or strange events, they may be clustered geographically anyway. Perhaps it's more an issue of these events themselves.
Right. There, as with any present day investigation or an investigative analysis of past events, these things, there's a lot of ways that you can look at it, but I find that implication, even if it is just a conjectural implication of some sort of vortex of weird happening within a notable and small geographical location, to be really fascinating.
It is for me as well. And we're going to talk a lot more about this and other strange goings on in the Eastern Ozarks in our long format. So watch for it to drop later on in the week. In between, don't forget to check out upcoming events and merchandise at darkozarts.com and paranormalsciencelab.com. Thank you again to Always Buying Books, Beard Engine Brewing Company, and Save the Ozarks for helping to bring the Dark Ozarks to everyone.
On the next episode, we are going to be discussing unusual hauntings here in the Ozarks. Catch the Dark Ozarks podcast on Branson Podcast Network, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or about any other podcast platform. Thank you, everyone. And remember,